The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Welcome to this show on diabetes, Rudy's War on Diabetes, and I mean it. Why did I use a term like that? It's because diabetes, especially type 2, causes 30, 40 diseases, chronic illnesses that could be prevented, stopped, and 90% could be reversed. That's a wonderful opportunity in the industry, the government, the hospitals, we physicians, Diabetic Association. Nobody's really attacking it. They're letting you have the disease, so they make a lot of money, and you die 20 years before your time, and the 20 years before that, you're disabled. You get dementia. You get gum disease, you get a retinal disease, you can't hear right, you get thyroid disease, maybe you died from a heart attack, or you need surgery for your heart. 80% of renal diseases from diabetes could be prevented. They got you on dialysis and kidney transplant, the first 3 stages to kidney disease. They don't even test you for it or tell you you got to do this so you don't get advanced disease, so you don't need a kidney transplant or be dialyzed 14 hours a week. Skin disease, aging, strokes, I can go on and on. They are preventable, stoppable, reversible. You can get rid of diabetes generally 3 to 6 weeks. Mark Hyman would even say in about a week. And the reason being is if you're eating good food, your biome, your holobiome, those bacteria that live in your gut, trillions of them, okay? They are really run the metabolism of your body. They're living things, and you're feeding them with bad food. They will control your life, and you'll die young, maybe be disabled, maybe have a stroke, maybe have a heart attack. Maybe they'll amputate your toes, your ankles, or you'll walk on dislocated feet. And yes, those things happen and can be prevented. You see why I'm so passionate? See why I declared war? Why I declared war? But my bullets are information. That's why I'm here today. And I hope you listen to what I have to say. Look at my other YouTube shows. There's probably 500 Rudy Kachmann YouTube, about 500 on there. And if you live in town and you want to hear more about in person, I see people for free at the Divine Cafe by the Coliseum starting at 11:30 on Fridays. I'm going there tomorrow. You can walk in, say, I'm going to talk to you, Dr. Kachmann. I'll talk to you and tell you, I've got this diabetes, I already get renal disease, and I will work with you. And I'm there every Friday. And I could have retired to Florida, but I thought I'm more useful here. What got me onto this years ago, this is nothing new for me. Years ago, I knew about this already. And I wrote books on the connection of the mind and the body, and how to avoid narcotics, all kind of different lectures there on YouTube. You can see them there. But the diabetes thing, to make it simple for you, you can listen to me, but this here is a wonderful book, Diabetes Epidemic, which we know it's everywhere. It's a pandemic. It's all over the world. Okay, the most diabetics are in China. Not percentage-wise, but they have the most people. And we send our fast food restaurants to there, and that is largely the reason. Processed food. Did you hear recently in Russia, one of the fast food restaurants left the country because of the war? It makes sense. But the fast food place killed a lot more people probably than the war would even kill. That's not funny, but it's interesting that no one has brought it up. And probably certain racial group, ethnic groups, 80-90% are diabetic. Most don't know it because they didn't run their own tests. You need a blood sugar, fasting blood sugar. You don't eat for 8 hours. And a serum insulin. If the serum insulin is over 5, you have diabetes. If you come to me and say, well, they did blood sugar, I'm not diabetic. And even people of normal weight, incidentally, a third of them are diabetic of normal weight. Certain racial ethnic groups even higher, okay? And I'm not saying this, I'm just saying this because for you to get treated, I'm going to save your life. Diabetes has all those diseases I talked about. But Joseph Kraft here, University of Illinois, did research, starting 1980s. Finally published many papers. But this one, I think, is the critical one. 2006, should everyone be tested? Remember I spoke about the test? Absolutely not. Only those concerned about their future. You want to die 20 years before your time, and if 20 years are disabled before that, don't get tested. But if you care, you would do this and maybe come to read these books or come to see me or both or whatever. Gather information. Don't accept you don't have diabetes when you got it. And because the hospitals, see, I went to all of them, they would not attack this problem. I asked them to run a clinic on preventing, stopping, reversing diabetes. Not one of them agreed to do it. Why is that? Ask them. I'm concerned. I know patients that went ahead a heart attack due to vascular disease from diabetes. Did beautiful surgery, saved their life from the surgery, but did nothing about the diabetes, although they had a diabetic doctor and a cardiologist. They never ordered the serum insulin. They never, while the person is getting rehabbed, they never attacked the diabetes. It's a relative can't change the people. The medical system is to change them. So he published this beautiful book, easy to read. A doctor could read in one night. I say, and if you could read in 2 or 3 nights, you can see him on YouTube, Joseph Kraft, Krafт. What he did is he was a pathologist and a nuclear pathologist. So he had a special license on that. And that allowed him to he formed different curves, blood sugars, fasting 1 hour, 2 hours, starting age 3 to 90. And that's sort of another little thing with me is that we need to test children. We check them with an HbA1c starting age 10. We need to check them earlier, age 3 or 4, because the blood sugars start going up. The highest obesity rate of increase we've seen at age 2 to 6. Yes, I went to a pediatrician to see if he would. I gave him this book. I gave him this, well-known guy. I gave him this book. Came back a week later to see what he thought about it. He says, Rudy, I lost it. Said, oh, I got another one. I gave that to him. I said, call me in 2 weeks. He never did call. Why is that? I don't know. Because I know he's an ethical guy. He sees mainly Medicaid patients. They're more likely to have diabetes because food does us. They're eating, especially the wrong food, and but that's great news. But I've been on this trek for many years. That's the reason I wrote this book, Rudy's War on Diabetes. I even rewrote it. It's simple to read, but you will understand where I'm coming from. And if you start following this, what's interesting is you'd save, I don't care what you have, you'd save quite a bit of money. Insulin is expensive. Now they're talking about getting the price down to $35. Let me tell you something. I even have another book, I don't have it right here with me, that clearly explains that insulin helps promote the disease. Yes, this pharmaceutical company knows it too. And what happens is the insulin pushes your sugar into the cell. So you check the blood, sugar's down. I'm better. You're not better. Why? Because the sugar is still in your body. It's in your cell. The cell goes like this. That's why the majority of diabetics are gaining weight, because the insulin is doing it. And then after a while, they need to constantly increase the insulin over the years. You know, even the ones who have insulin pumps, what did I know of a child recently at a breakfast place? That's the child of my waitress, and the boy was visiting and said hello to me, and I noticed he's real big. What's happening is he has a pump in him, so every time he eats, he checks his blood sugar, and then now he needs 100 units of insulin, versus if you eat properly and you're diabetic, you need only 10. But insulin has effects on your body, every cell, all over your body. Mm-hmm. So insulin pumps don't really help. They help you a little bit in that you can eat anything you want to, and then you see the sugar, but the sugar is in there inflaming your body and causing all these diseases in spite of your ability to you want to get rid of this disease. Even type 1 diabetics, where the pancreas is dead, and you clearly need the insulin, you couldn't possibly live without it. But 90% of diabetics are type 2, okay? And the type 1, they could be living on 10 to 20 units, so they could probably live to be 100. But the majority of them eat what they want to, and they keep the blood sugar in a reasonable level, but the insulin is just stuffing the sugar into the cells, turns off gluconeogenesis, ability to make more glucose in case the insulin dives. Your sugar goes way down. If you take an insulin, it can go way down, it could kill you. That's in the literature. And I can even show you the book. Another book I recommend, which is really great to read, this has got to be maybe the best book of all, by Jason Fung, F-U-N-G, Jason Fung. He was a renal doctor from Canada, okay? And he noticed all the patients going onto dialysis and then kidney replacement. Kidney disease is in 5 stages, okay? The GFR, glomerular filtration rate. Most of the time, people aren't even checked for it. The first 3 stages where normally GFR ought to be 110 or 100, and as we get older, it all goes down a little bit, and that's normal. As long as it stays above 60, you're okay. But the first 3 stages of dropping, you have no symptoms. But you ought to be checked for it anyway, because if it's going down, you could do something about it. You may have diabetes. There's no such thing as pre-diabetes. You hear it all the time. No, if you're when you're on the path, you're diabetic. You may grab your chest, bang, and you're dead. 50% of people with heart attacks just grab their chest and say, and they're gone. 50%. Yes. So it's critical to know where you're at. Even your children need to be checked with serum insulins. Mm-hmm. HbA1c is fine, but with serum insulins, because you could get them to eat the right food, stop eating so many sugary processed foods, instead eating good fats, 50, 70%, 20% protein, the rest fruits and sugar. Fruit, you think that's a health food. We ought to be eating 80% fruit diet. No, that's fructose. Fructose doesn't even go in the bloodstream. It goes straight to the liver and makes fatty liver, which promotes diabetes. Most people wouldn't know that. But Jason Fung was a renal doctor, okay? And he noticed that almost the patients he was treating with renal disease, remember 5 stages, okay, renal disease, were diabetic. So he decided to be a diabetic doctor instead. Exactly what he did and he done. And now he's published. And look at the name of this book, The Diabetes Code, okay? Prevent and reverse. Isn't that what I've been speaking about? Type 2 diabetes, and I've been speaking about that naturally. Naturally, by eating the right food. It's that simple. It's that simple. You can get rid of this disease probably in 3 to 6 weeks. Mark Hyman would say even sooner, because as soon as you eat the right food, the blood sugar levels drop by the next day. And remember, we spoke about our gut bacteria and our gut lining where you absorb things. Our gut bacteria, you know what the lifespan of the gut bacteria are, those trillions of live things that are in your gut? 20 minutes. So if you're eating, and they've been living off of bad food you've been eating, if all of a sudden they're living off good food, it will all change in there. Also, your gut lining, the final protector of things from the gut to get into the bloodstream, it's 1 cell layer thick, okay? They're real close together, but if you eat the wrong food, they open up and they let bad food into the bloodstream, and your body reacts to it and causes the diabetes, cancer, decreased immunity, inflammation. The virus, incidentally, the coronavirus you've been hearing about, it just amazes me that NIH, CDC, government, political parties hardly bring up that if you get rid of your sugar in your blood, type 2 diabetes, which we have 50% of the people got it, they were probably tested, probably 80% got it. If you eat it properly, the odds of catching the virus goes way down. The virus is a sugar feeder. The virus has no metabolic system. They never brought it up. I put ads in the newspaper about it, made big drawings, and they were in the journal Gazette and the Ink Spot, the largely black newspaper for which I have a great relationship. I teach in their churches, and because of food scarcity and have genetics changed a little bit because of slavery, they starved them. So what they eat? Sugar, because they eat the sugar plant, the stem, full of fructose. So they have a little genetic change. They're more likely to get diabetes. But again, it's none of that could be. The genes won't be expressed if you eat the right food. But yet, the community is not telling them that. I'm telling them that because I care about them. I love them. To me, I don't see skin color, okay? It's just me. I don't see it. And but to let them have 80, 90% are diabetic. Asians, too. They may look like they're not overweight, but they have belly fat. And they're more likely to have diabetes. But it's not just about being overweight. But if you're overweight, odds are you're diabetic. 98% chance. Your doctor may say, oh, you don't have diabetes because you didn't check the serum insulin. Okay? Here's another book I'd like to bring up here for a minute, which is just absolutely excellent, and that is by Susan Ryan. I'll hold it up for you. What's particularly good about this is that she is in there explaining the ketone way, which I will explain to you in a minute what that's all about. She explains it for about 30 pages, and then she has pictures of her recipes in there and how each meal, how many calories, how much protein, how much carbohydrate, how much sugar. It's all in there. A beautiful book to read. She lost 100 pounds. You may not need to lose any of that, but the book is still great because there are good recipes in there, and you will understand it. I mean, what are ketones? We have sugar, glucose, okay, a certain size molecule. We need it to make energy. In our body, a liver has, in our blood, you wouldn't believe this, in our blood has only a teaspoonful of sugar. That's all. Yeah. We have some sugar stored in glycogen. In the liver, there's 100 grams. In the muscles, 400 grams. So we have, we can last for a while on the sugar and the glycogen, but once the glycogen is gone, the sugar is gone, insulin level goes down, fat cells open up, they go to the liver, turn into ketones. That's an energy molecule. It's a lot better. It makes you more energetic. And they found out in the last 20 years, the brain can use it. You used to think the brain could only operate of sugar. Wrong. It can operate of ketones. And once you're in a ketone metabolism, less inflammation, and you're getting skinnier because you're using fat for energy, because your glycogen stores have been used up. So when you hear the word keto today, that's really what all about. And if you add to it what's time-regulated eating, that's really a wonderful thing to do. It's what I do, which means what I'm doing is 16 hours I don't eat, okay? I eat in an 8-hour period of time, and in the 16 hours, your body, including your brain, is cleansing itself, getting rid of dead cells, making new cells, repairing cells, and your blood sugar, though, at times like that, and you're not hungry till around noon. Because of my last meal, I ate 6, 7 of the previous night. 12 hours to 6, you add another. You see what I mean? It's easy to fast for 16 hours because Rudy 16-8 is what I call it. We don't want to fast for 2 or 3 days or 24 hours or a month. You can not eat for a month and probably be okay. Mm-hmm. If you even have on record a very obese person who didn't eat for 383 days, and he lived because he was like my woodchuck under the house is living off the fat he'd accumulated in the last years or year in the history. I'm just asking for a few hours here. The reason you don't have any hunger in the morning, because as you approach 4 or 5 in the morning, steroids get secreted by the adrenal glands. Growth hormone gets secreted by the pituitary. Glucagon, which is the opposite of insulin in the pancreas, gets secreted. That keeps your blood sugar like that. And if your blood sugar is like that, you're not hungry. It's only when the blood sugar goes down, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Yeah. So then I eat around noon, and if you eat something healthy, remember, what I recommend, you see a beautiful picture of a pyramid in her book about proper eating, but I also developed my own, and it's in this book. So mine is slightly different, but essentially the same. 50-70% good fats, guacamole and olives, and not bad fats, okay? So eating fat actually is good because your blood sugar doesn't go up and down with that, okay? And it's less strain, including on your kidneys. For example, a pregnant bear might hibernate all winter long. She goes in there, and she doesn't urinate at all, because she's living off of fat. The kidneys have no work to do. Yeah, and she was pregnant. She comes out with 2 kids. She's skinnier. Her muscles are strong because she has to fight off the enemies to feed and capture some food for her little babies. A good demonstration. And she lost 125 pounds. Then she looked beautiful. Has no diabetes. She spent $3,000 a year on medications. That's all gone. She's on no pills, and has a beautiful daughter and husband. Takes a walk every day for a little bit of exercise. So I think this combination of these books gives you a lot of information. Rudy's War on Diabetes explains it all in simple terminology. You see sugar on the cover, obviously, because that is the main enemy. But the fats you eat, you want to be good fats, but they're all listed in these books. You can go to my websites. Life without diabetes, you probably live an extra 20 years, 40 years, you probably maybe live to be 100, to be honest with you. It won't have mental decline because you don't have the insulin up there, which causes amyloid to be deposited. And you dance down the hall and maybe play pickleball with me. If you or your friends have type 2 diabetes, for example, come see me at the Divine Cafe by the Coliseum. I'll be there at 11:30 tomorrow. I'm there for a couple of hours, and I will see people as long as they need to be seen. I've got a few with kidney disease, which I'm trying to reverse. Because most of the time the dialysis centers, they won't address your diabetes. It's too late. They didn't do it when they're earlier. So anyway, I'll be singing my song. Okay, and I thank you for watching. And I do this diabetes show every 2 weeks, and I have done it for over 10 years. Why? Because this is a great opportunity to make people better. The prevention of disease, because if you succumb and accept the disease, here's your pill, here's your prescription, I'll see you next year. No, get rid of the disease. That's what I want you to do. I've declared war on diabetes. My bullets are love and information. Thanks for listening. I do this because I love you and care about you. Thank you.